Who? Who is he? Who is he? So in that second line in Hebrew where it says Vahush Yalad et Nimrod hu hahel, then Liyot Gibor Ba'aret. So we know what Gibor means. Mighty, powerful, strong. So we go on that third line and we see Gibor used twice. I got it there on that third line. I got it blue, and it says Hu Haya Gibor. So he was allowed to be a hunter. Okay, Lifnei Yahweh. So we see that Lifnei Yahweh or Yahuwah. Okay, before the Lord. So he was allowed to be. So who put him in that position to be that way? Just going off the Hebrew right there. I don't see nobody else's name. I don't see no Satan, no dragon gave him the power. I don't see none of that. All right. So before Yahweh al Cain, Ye Amar. All right. And like it was said, Ka Nimrod, Gibor, Zayid Lifnei, right? Being before the face of Yah. So you got some clout from somebody. Okay? Got some clout from somebody. Yahshua 10 and 13. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the nation had avenged themselves of their enemies. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? And the sun stayed in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. So we got this highlighted for you in the gold ring. Now, we have Katuvah al Sefer Ha-Yashar. Okay, is it not written, okay, upon or with or in the book of Yashar? The book of Yashar, which is what we would know as what Jasher, which is not in your canon, correct? Right?
Yes.
Okay, so according to Yehoshua, there are some things that's probably in the book of Yashar that might can help us, right? And I always say might, because I said we're gonna use some of these extra biblical sources, but I always remind us that when we do not have the prior text it was written in, or we don't have it in any kind of modern script, or we don't have it in any kind of other script than English, we always got to be wise, right? We can't go running and jumping. Well, it says here and here. Okay, well, can we find an equivalent within the Torah? What we do, can we match it up? Can we make sure that it's sure? Right? Because if we have issues with the own that we got now, once again, you are at war. And a part of the war is taking control of that book that you got. Remember, okay? The Ethiopians got every book. We talked about that last night. Mussolini came in there, thought it was going to do something. They sent him back running. Okay? So, so let's look at Jasher or Yashar, the Hebrew. What does that mean? It means straight, upright, correct, right. So the book of Jasher, the Sefer of Yashar, means to be straight. The book of being straight. The book of the upright, correct, right. Okay. Extra biblical sources time. Okay, everybody hang on. Hold on tight. Every time I do that, look at my man, he's like, oh, extra biblical sources, oh. I'm gonna get folks going looking crazy. All right, extra biblical sources, let's go. Jasher, or Yasher, which is the book of the what? The book of the what?
Upright.
Upright. What else? Straight. What else? Correct. Good. All right, Jasher 7 and 23. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age. Okay, so Cush was what? he was what? Old. Old. And she bare a son. Remember the question was, why was Nimrod not mentioned with the other boys? Cush said, why was he not mentioned with them? He was mentioned after the grandkids. And they called his name Nimrod, saying, at that time, the sons of men began to rebel and transgress against God. Now, how many times have we read where something happened to somebody in the scriptures and they named their child based off the scenario, right, the situation, something that happened? Over and over we see that. So they called him Nimrod. So what did Nimrod mean again? It meant rebellion or valiant. So Cush had a baby when he was old. Okay? We've seen that happen before, right? So at that time, the sons of men, so at the time Nimrod was born, the world was what? Buck. Wow. Okay? They had that P bump, they had that P blast in the back, they had that P bump in the back. You don't want to go to war with us. It was getting back. It was starting to make the move again. Okay? And the child grew up and his father loved him exceedingly. For he was the son of his old age. Well, we heard that at before. Wasn't that in Torah study today? Yes, what made so Yaakov or Israel, he loved Joseph. Mm-hmm. It was a boy of his what? Old age. That got me a baby boy. I still got something left in the tank. I still got something left in the tank. Look at him. Look at that little boy. Run, boy, run. So the same thing happened with Cush. So we see why in our canon, why Nimrod is separate in the distinguishing of Cush's children. He get a whole verse to himself. Maybe two. So he grew up, father, he was the son of his old age, and the garments of skin which God made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush. For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared, and when Enoch was taken up, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them into the ark. They were with him until he went out of the ark. And in their going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah. Now, has Ham done anything that we know of within our regular canon that makes him kind of suspect? Yeah. Okay, so when we hear that Ham stole something, it's kind of like when you got that cousin that be tripping and you hear something about your cousin and you be like, I can see that happening. Yeah. I can see that happening. I know how cuz is. And in the going out, Ham stole those garments from Noah his father. He took them and hid them from his brothers. And when Ham begat his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days. So we see how Cush got the garments. Okay. All right. So, and Cush concealed them for his sons and his brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he had gave those garments through his love for him. Nimrod grew up when he was 20 years old. He put on those garments, and Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and God gave him might and strength. And God gave him might and strength. So now we see why when we go in our Tanakh on the Hebrew side, why it will continually say Gibor Yahuwah or Gibor Lifnei, mighty before the face of Yah. That's what the text told us in Hebrew. That's why we got to study it. Where was it? And God gave him mighty strength, and he was a mighty hunter in the earth. Okay, so that's what it said. Yeah, he was a mighty hunter in the field. He hunted the animals. He built altars. He offered upon them the animal before the Lord. So he was making sacrifices and offerings to Yah at a time when the earth was in what? Rebellion. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about. And the Lord delivered all the enemies of his brethren to his hands. Okay? God prospered him from time to time in his battles. He reigned upon the earth. He reigned upon the earth. He reigned upon the earth. Are we seeing this? Therefore it became current in those days when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like God did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies. So may God strengthen us and deliver us this day. So there was a phrase that was said in Genesis about how they would say Nimrod was a mighty hunter before Yah. And so this was his status amongst the people in that time. Okay? Because just because, people are wicked doesn't mean that everybody's like that. All right? Not everybody's like that. Okay, verse 34. And when Nimrod was 40 years old at the time, there was a war between his brethren and the children of Japheth, so that they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod went forth at that time. He assembled all the sons of Cush and their families, about 460 men. He hired also some of his friends and acquaintances, about 80 men. And he gave them their hire, and he went with him to battle. And when he was on the road, Nimrod strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. He said to them, "Do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered into our hands, and you may do with them as you please." And all the men that were with him were about 500, and they fought against their enemies. They destroyed them, subdued them, and Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of the children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brethren. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. Now, and when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren, together with those who knew him before, assembled to make him king over them. And they placed a regal crown upon his head. So we have an assembly of people coming together, putting a crown on his head. Now, some of this, if you fast forward through time, some of this kind of sounds familiar. Because we just spent a 4-part series talking about the beast. And the beast had 10 what? Horns. 7 heads, 10 horns. And those 10 horns were what? Kingdoms. And the beast, because Yah put it in his heart, threw the whore off, burnt her with fire. And they gave their power to one. Verse 39 again. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from his battle after having conquered his enemies, all his brethren, together with those who knew him before, assembled to make him king over them. And they placed a regal crown upon his head. Verse 40. And they set over his subjects and people, princes, judges, rulers, as in the custom amongst kings. And he placed Terah, the son of Nahor, the prince of his host, and he dignified him and elevated him above all his princes. Okay. Now, Jasher 7:42-47. And whilst he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies round, he advised with his council to build a city for his palace, and they did so. They found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city, and Nimrod called the name of the city he built Shinar. Okay? For the Lord had vehemently shaken his enemies and destroyed them. Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely. He fought with his enemies and subdued them. He prospered in all his battles, and his kings became very great. Now, verse 45. And all nations and tongues heard of his fame. So not just his brethren and the people that were around him, but now all nations and tongues heard of his fame. Because Nimrod was allowed by Yah to go forth. And well, guess what they did? They gathered themselves unto him. So not the people of his family and not them, but the rest of the world came and they gathered themselves to him. And guess what they did? And they bowed down to the earth. So all of the other nations came to Nimrod and they bowed down to earth. So not the ones that had just made him king, that they were familiar with him, but everybody has heard of him. And everybody else has came and bowed down to the earth. And they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King. You follow me? And they all dwelt with him in the city of Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah. Not the sons of Japheth or the sons of Ham. Over all the sons, that means of all humanity. Hello? Noah came from one side to the other side. And it was through Noah's loins that we have the population we have today. So all the sons of Noah bowed down to him. And they were all under his power and counsel. Verse 46, and all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Lord. And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him from the days of the flood until those days. So something changed from when Nimrod got to 20 to 40 to however old he is now. So something changed. And he made gods of wood and stone. He bowed down to them and he rebelled against the Lord. He rebelled against the Lord. So the person who is over all the earth and has all these sons of Noah under him, now he rebels against the Lord. And taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon's son was more wicked than his father. So that was just to give us some little background information on Nimrod. Okay? On Nimrod. Because Nimrod had some juice, didn't he?
Where'd you get it from?
So we got a little background on Nimrod, more than a few little verses we get in Genesis 10. We got some background on Nimrod, and so we need to keep this picture of Nimrod. What we got in Genesis 10 and what we got in Joshua 7. Okay. So Nimrod, we're gonna look at Nimrod. So Nimrod actually has a legacy. We can kind of put something to his legacy. We talk about Mashiach as being the figure, but there are shadows of things. So we're looking at Nimrod being the first mighty one to be described as Gibor post-flood. And he was so mighty that all of the earth was under his control. Okay? So we're going to look at some examples. There are examples of Nimrod. We're going to look at some shadows of Nimrod. So before we start talking about shadows, we got to turn to Colossians 1. Okay? Because everything that Yah has, or that Yah has laid out for us, our adversary has his copycat. Okay? Yeah, he has some form of a copycat. Or in this chess game that they're maneuvering in, how Satan is going to try to throw his piece out there first to get you to bite. Okay? To get you to bite the bait. So Colossians 1 and 13. And it reads, who have delivered us from the power of darkness and have translated us to the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God, right? So Yahshua is the image of the invisible one, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven, that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. So Yahshua is the head, Yahshua is the body. So he is the one. But if we go back to post-flood, somebody else was like almost the head, because all tongues, all nations came and bowed to him and let him have dominion over him. Some got whooped, some heard of his fame, so different scenarios, but Nimrod ended up being this Gibor, this mighty one in the earth, the first one post-flood. That's very important. All right, Colossians 2, verse 15. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or drink or in respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Shabbat days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is Mashiach. Let no man beguile you of your reward, or in a voluntary humility, in worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he hath not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands, having nourishment, ministereth and knit together, increasing with the increase of Elohim, the increase of Yah. Okay. So there are shadows, there are examples that are of Mashiach. And Nimrod had his own legacy. Okay, he had his own legacy. And he had his own thing that he was doing, that it had dominion over all of the earth. Okay. Let's turn to Amos. Amos the prophet. Let's go ahead and turn to Amos 3. Amos 3. Amos 3rd chapter, verse 1. Hear this word that Yah has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. I hear that a lot. And people say that and try to make it seem like, hey, you know, the Israelites know we're special with it. And those things are true. But in the context of this chapter, and really of this book, because I've known you, I got a problem with you. I got a problem with you. I need you to be a certain way. You want to be your own way. Now, I ain't had no relationship with nobody else except for you. So I need you to be in line with me. But he gonna say that. Which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Can two walk together except they be agreed? You're like, look, man, we can't go on this journey together. I'm going one way, you keep trying to let my hand go. Any of y'all ever had a child or whenever your baby get ready to walk, and when you hold your baby hand and you're outside and the baby pull their hand away, I can do it. I got it. I want to go run. But that's us. Y'all trying to hold us, we need to be in agreement. We want to pull away. We did pull away. That's why he said, I'm going to have to holler at you for your iniquities. Everybody else, I ain't known them like that. But you, totally different. You held to a different standard. Amen. That's why some bosses you can't work for. They hold you to a high standard. Too much. I ain't got what it takes. Stay in Amos 3 and 10. For they know not to do right. For they know not to do right. For they know not to do just that right there. Just doing right. Amos 3 and 10. All he wants you to do is just to do right. Saith Yah, who store up violence and robbery in their palaces. We'll stay in Amos. Let's go to the 5th chapter. 5th chapter. 5th chapter, verse 1. Hear ye this word which I take up against you, even in lamentation, O house of Israel. Who is he talking to? Who is he talking to? House of Israel. Verse 2. The virgin of Israel is fallen, she shall no more rise. She is forsaken. Upon her land there is none to raise her up, for thus saith the Lord God. The city that went out by 1,000 shall leave 100, and that which went forth by 100 shall leave 10 to the house of Israel. For thus saith Yah unto the house of Israel, seek ye me, and ye shall live, but seek not Bethel. Right? Don't go there. Nor enter to Gilgal. Pass not to Beersheba. Right? A lot of places where folks can set up altars and statues, right? Solomon boy. After the split between Israel and Judah. Seek the Lord. Seek the Lord. You know what happens if you seek the Lord? You shall live. But you won't believe this. You got to be on that narrow path. You can't be on a wide road. You're going to seek something, it's going to be Nimrod. That's who's going to find you. So if you want to live, you got to stay on the narrow. You got to go through the straight gate. Narrow is the way. And few be ye that's in it. Because you're trying to live. So he's like, look, I'm about to bring a buck whooping. So if you want to live, you got to seek me. Yahshua comes along and say, hey, get on the narrow path. Enter at the straight gate. The wide way, that big old interstate, all the people going that way, they're headed to what? Destruction. lest he break out like a fire in the house of Joseph and devour it, and there be none to quench it in Bethel. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood and leave off righteousness in the earth. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion. And we just read Colossians. In Colossians 1, we were told that Yahshua created all things visible and invisible. He'd been talking to folks for a long time. He said, seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion. He's like, let me talk to you and use the names of these stars, because that's what y'all call them now. So let me talk to you so you understand. And turneth the shadow of death into morning, and maketh the day dark with night, and that calleth the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. Yah is his name. That strengthen the spoiled against the strong, so that the spoiled shall come against the fortress. They hate him that rebuke in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. They hate him that what? Rebuketh in the gate. Which gate? There's a wide one and a narrow one. And they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. For as much therefore as your trading is upon the poor, and you take him for burdens of wheat, ye have built houses of hewn stone, but you shall not dwell in them. Ye have planted pleasant vineyards, but you shall not drink wine of them. For I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. They afflict the just. They take a bribe. They turn aside the poor and negate from the right. So that means for us today, don't take bribes. Don't cheat. Don't try to get over. Tell the truth. It's the little things. Therefore the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. Seek good, seek good, seek good, and not evil, that ye may what? Live. And so Yah, the Elohim of hosts, shall be with you as ye have spoken. So once again, it don't matter where you're at now. Syria, Babylon, Egypt, Guatemala, at your job on 9 to 5, wherever you're at. Seek good that you may live. Hate the evil. Hate it. Love the good. Establish judgment in the gate. Right? And that means you got to be on the way. You got to be on the road. If you would have had to enter into the straight gate in order to speak judgment and establish it, you got to be at the gate. It may be that the Lord God of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Therefore, the Lord God of the host, the Lord said, thus wailing shall ye be in the streets, and they shall say in the highways, alas, alas. And they shall say to the husbandman, to the mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing. And in all the vineyards shall be wailing, for I will pass through thee, saith the Lord. Woe unto you that desire the day of the Lord. People are screaming and shouting and waiting on the day of the Lord. To what end is it for you? The day of the Lord is darkness and not light. The bulk of the people that hold this book is calling for the day of the Lord, and they ain't ready for it. And he's saying, what good is the day of the Lord for you? I see you as evil. I see you as wicked, transgressor, full of iniquity, drunk off the wine, on the wrong road. But you got that book in your hand. Don't care if you got crosses on your car, you got fringes on your shirt. I don't care if you got a star on you. I don't care what you got. He said, you calling on this day and you ain't ready for it. As if a man flee from a lion and a bear met him. That's what it's going to be like. Or went into the house and leaned his hand on the wall and a snake bites you. Shall not the day of the Lord be darkness and not light? Even very dark and no brightness in it? I despise your feast days. And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. They're hollering and shouting and screaming. And he said, I ain't sniffing nothing. Though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept, and neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beast. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs. Don't be shouting and screaming at me. I ain't hearing that racket. For I will not hear the melody of thy vows. Is poison. You got Bell Biv DeVoe on repeat. Poison. Got that Bell Biv DeVoe. That's what it says. Poison. But let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel? But ye have borne this tabernacle of your Moloch and your Keun, your image of the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. Therefore I will cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith Yah, whose name is Elohim of the Zebaot. So, Yah made it simple. Do right. Be right. You got to be at the gate. In order to be at the straight gate, you got to be on the narrow way. There ain't going to be a lot of us on that road. We'll see this phrase, son of perdition, man of perdition, men of perdition. Perdition is the apolie, and it means destroying, utter destruction. Vessels, money, torture, i.e. like lake of fire. Okay? So where we see the Greek word apolie, it might be translated as perdition, but it could also be translated as destruction. Okay? So someone might be called man of perdition, son of perdition, son of destruction. Does that kind of make sense? So as we look at some of the things the New Testament is going to be talking about, it's going to be pointing you to somebody. And we've had an example before. It was in Genesis 10 and Joshua 7. Let's turn to John 17. Turn to John 17. See, we closer than what you think. You're closer than what you think. John 17 and 12. If you remember the Bible said we went over this. We skipped it on purpose. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. The apolie. Okay. And he reached what? Utter destruction. Right? Right? It's better that he was not born. Is that not what the book said? Thessalonians. Somebody got time on me. Look at that time don't match. I'm time don't match my time. Folks try to rush me off the mic. All to have my own rebellion. I ain't giving up the mic. All day, all night. I ain't giving up the mic. Now take it out of my hand, dog. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except to be a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of Apaleo, the son of perdition be revealed, the son of destroying, who opposes. So now we're getting a description of this man of perdition, this destroyer, who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of Elohim, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. Right? For the mystery of iniquity. So this man, this son of perdition, is a mystery. Just like mystery Babylon. Yes. 2 Thessalonians 2nd chapter. Now we're in verse 7. We start in verse 3. Now we're in verse 7. So the mystery of iniquity doth already work. So Shaul is like, these are mysteries. Yochanan, mystery Babylon, is like, this is a mystery. So this son of perdition is also a mystery. But the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now will let until he be taken out of the way. So when we talk about iniquity, what do we know about iniquity? What goes from fathers to sons? Iniquity. It didn't say sin. It didn't say what? Transgression. The book said what? Iniquity. So the iniquity already works. I wonder when this iniquity started. I wonder when this iniquity started. Because we know that there was a deluge. And Yah washed all the earth. And Noah, they come out and they doing sacrifices. And it's like, man, if you felt the impact of that, okay, there's a lot of people that's scared straight. You ever that phrase, I got scared straight? Y'all remember that show? Yeah. Them bad kids called Scared Straight? We're going to throw you in there with them real guns. I'm going to throw you in there with them real guns and them gonesses. I'm going to throw you up there in the head for show for boys and for girls. Scared straight. But there was one who the book told us became Gibor. He was Gibor in front of all of the earth and that left the face before Yah. And then something happened. So we had to go to an extra biblical source just to get a little information, and he flipped. Why, how, what? Speculation. We ain't worried about all that. We just know that all of the earth bowed before him. And when they all bowed, he started going buck wild. So Shaul says the iniquity already works in the earth. And in your Torah, the teaching, it says what? Iniquity goes from the father to the son for generations and generations, especially if there's no repentance. Yeah. No one stopped the iniquity. From who? Nimrod. So as it once was, it must be.
Come on.
Does that make sense? As it once was, it must be. Someone started this, someone started it, and we got to point him out. Let's do Nimrod. And no one's told. In other words, whatever he was doing, it has passed down, and Shaul just called it a mystery. John is taken out, knocked like a dead man. They're revealing to him mystery Babylon. That's why I'm not into always trying to say, hey, it's a mystery. Part of it's a mystery because it's hidden, and some of it is to see which road you're going to travel on. You're going to be on the wide road or the narrow path. Straight is the gate. Few be in it. 1 Timothy. No, we didn't finish that. I'm sorry. Got a little excited. Verse 8, 2 Thessalonians 2. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. So in the background, we see the ugly one. So someone is going to be in a position to be in the throne or position himself in the temple as if they are Elohim on earth like Yahshua was on earth, professing. Well, he didn't say he was king. They was like, well, that's what they say. Because it wasn't his time. But they got a big old chess game going on. I told you, he let the other one go. Like, I give you like 200 moves. That was something that the adversary said to Yahshua. He said, look, if you bow to me, you don't believe what I give you. Look like Nimrod bowed. At some point, because he sure was being blessed by Yah. Some happened. Some went to the left. That Beyonce song kicked in. But some happened. They would start going to the left. Hello, mic check. So, verse 10, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. And we got to look, let's say that in Matthew 7, didn't we? That the way you want to be treated, treat other people. This is the law and the prophets. Shaul come along and said the fulfillment of the law is what? Love. So people do not have a love of the truth. That they might be what? Saved. Come on. They don't love the truth, and they cannot be saved. And for this cause, Yah shall send them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. So once again, Yah will allow darkness to do what you do. Yep. He might say, hey, don't touch that one. Don't touch that one. touch that one. But do, and I can't help it, baby. You come out there going, y'all letting them do it. And the people that they believe the lie. That they all might be damned. People, that they all might till us know. Then we just keep saying, once again, like we said earlier, if you need help, you got to realize you need help. And I don't need no help. That's okay. Go ahead, go on what you got to do. See that? There's plenty of room over on that road. It's all kind of room for you. Because that room in Matthew 7 told us that led them to what? Destruction. It led them to the Apolia. Rest of y'all, just read the rest of this chapter, and read 3rd chapter too. Rest of you. 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy, 6th chapter. 1 Timothy 6 and 9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in apolia. And apolia. I did not make this up. That's why that road is wide. And man, he told you it was wide, is where it's going to lead you to. And in 2 Thessalonians, you get an idea. It kind of breaks down this wicked one. There's going to be one that's going to be more buck than all of them. So it's got to be a replica of somebody. It's like we've seen this before. You've heard this before. Hebrews 10. Hebrews 10 and 39. The book, it reads, but we are not of them who draw back into apolia, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul. Well, Peter was going, others. The word is said it cut him deep. What must we do to be saved? That the word he spoke was a sword, and it cut their soul. That's what Hebrews 4 and 12 tell you, though. It's a sword. The word is a sword, two-sided. It cuts bone and flesh. It discerns the thoughts. It cuts your heart. It pricks you in your soul. That's what the word, it cuts you in your soul. And it's a part of you should say, man, what must I do to be saved? If I'm on the wide road, I got to get off this. That's the mercy of Yah, that you got time to get off the road. But I like the road. It's easy. I got access to where I want to do and where I want to be. It ain't nothing happened to me. I'm doing it for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Yeah. That gap of time is where y'all like, I really want you to get it right, bro. I really want you to get it right, sister, daughter, child.
Please, sir. Thank you.
Proverbs 17. Proverbs 17. Proverbs 17. He loveth transgression. He loveth transgression that loveth strife. And he that exalt his gate seeketh destruction. He exalts destruction. In Egypt, story is 12 and 23. Remember that? Yah allowed the destroyer to come through. But if you were marked with the blood, the destroyer could not come into your home. But if you did not have the blood of the Lamb, Yah allowed the destroyer to come through. We don't know if Yah, because it's what the people want. I give you what they want. This sounds so familiar. You children of Israel, you want all that quail, you want all that stuff. I give you what you want. You want a king, I give you what you want. It's going to be wild if we get to David. I'm going to give you Saul first. There is a yod in front. Okay, he will. What Moses says, and with these verbs, what tense is he talking in? And you won't see it in English, but you see it in Hebrew. You understand? Yes, you understand? Exodus 51, the Song of Moses. You know what he said? I will sing. So he said in his song, then sang. So he's singing, and when he's singing the song, I will sing.
Yes, sir.
Is that I ain't done it yet.
Okay.
That's in your text.
I got you.
Then sang Moses. So he's singing a song. He's singing a song. And in the song, he says, I will sing. I will sing about what, Moses? Of the horse and the rider in the sea. What horse and rider, Moses? You just came over. So then this should be past tense. It just happened. Revelation 6, 1 and 2. They said, come and see what you see. I saw a rider, and he had a bow, and he had a crown, and he went forth conquering. A what? A horse and the horse and the rider. So Moses said, I will sing. He's singing a song talking about what he will sing. And you won't believe this about Moses. He never crossed over.
Right.
He never went into.
Right.
He never went. He didn't get to go.
Yeah.
He didn't get to go. So he ain't sung yet. This book good. This book is good. I will hear. I mean, I ain't hearing you right now. I ain't hearing you right now. I will sing. I ain't sung yet. I'm singing about what I will sing. Does that make sense? I am singing about what I will sing. So we see, I know, it's all right. So this horse, because what we do know, thanks to Ron Wright, is that there was probably over 600 horses and chariots and riders in the Gulf of Aqaba. At the bottom. He's talking about one. He's talking about one. And he's talking about, I will sing this. We can comb through the Torah. When did he sing it? Because y'all ain't gonna lie.
No.
And we know how his word come to pass. There was a person named Tobit who was a prisoner of exile of the Assyrians. And he went and he did alms daily. He took care of the poor. He buried the dead. He kept Shavuot in a foreign land in captivity still. He had a good boy, Tobias. He told his son, he said, son, you got to flee to Medea. Because I do know this much. The word of what Jonah said, it will come to pass. I don't care how many kings it go through. I don't care how many years it takes. I might not be here, son. And on his son's last day of living, he gets a word. Nineveh has fallen. I will sing. You best to bet your bottom dollar. He gonna sing. Because the horse and the rider is going into the sea. And if we ain't careful, you're gonna be on that wide road going straight to somebody that is a son of perdition, of destruction. Just gotta let that marinate. So that's why we got to get this Hebrew understood. Got to get it understood.
Gotcha.
Because it's stuff in there that the English, whether it's on purpose, whether it's just whatever, so that when we study or we hear somebody say something, we can go verify it in the script. I will sing. I'm singing a song about what I will sing about the horse and the rider. Thing is not over. Your Torah is not over. Yahshua is not over. Your journey is not over.
Amen.
Your work is not over. Where we at? The way we travel. We gotta travel. We gotta, the way we gotta do this. I'm gonna have a little something, y'all. Can you hear?
Where's the remote? The remote is by you. Just toss it out.
Yeah, because I would have messed it up.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
The way we travel.
Go ahead.
Look at this, a marathon runner in Texas showed incredible determination Sunday. Kenyan Ivana Teach led the women's field in Austin for 23 miles, but her body broke down in just the final stretch when race volunteers offered her a wheelchair. You can see, look at this. She refused and she crawled across the finish line. Despite her collapse, she finished third in the women's event, and the race director was so impressed with her grit. He doubled her prize money. People said it is the bravest thing they have ever seen on a finish line. You run a full marathon.
I've collapsed during one too.
Yeah.
How helpless feeling when you can't move.
That is such an inspiring video. That's you, Nora. You would crawl. I'd say, chair, chair. Really, congratulations.
In your journey, and where you headed, you're gonna cross that finish line. It's gonna take everything in your body. When your body's shut down, can you dig deeper? Hmm? Can you go by the Ruach? See, you can't go by the Ruach if ain't no Ruach in you. That's what it's like when you have a son in your old age. I still got something left in the tank. We're gonna be at a certain age. What you got left in the tank?
Glory.
Because the road is narrow.
Yes, sir.
Few be on it. You might not have no help some days. You might not have no help some weeks. You might not have no help some months. You might not have no help some years. What is in your tank to keep you on that narrow way? Because it's going to be easy as you know what to be on that wide road. You stick your thumb out and catch a ride to destruction. This is some quotes from this woman. Kenyan marathon runner, Kevon did something. 29 was on her way to winning. She was winning a marathon on a Sunday, and her body began to break down. With 0.2 of a mile, she collapsed, unable to walk, much less run. They offered her a wheelchair by the surrounding medical staff, but she declined the wheelchair, so I crawl. You gonna crawl for Yahshua to get to that finish line? No, where my bike at? Where my moped at? She crawled on all fours, finishing third in the race. Austin Marathon Race Director John Conley, who increased Nigek's prize money to that of a second place finisher, called her the toughest person on the planet. You ran the bravest race and crawled the bravest crawl I've ever seen in my life. He told her, you have earned much honor in the medical tennis. Yahshua gonna say, well done, my faithful servant. You did all you could. You be that raggedy chump. Is he gonna be like, you didn't do nothing? Didn't even tap into it. I put something in you and you never got to the reservoir tank.
Come on.
Please, y'all.
Keep filling up on 87 and I got 93 in you. Too cheap to dig deep.
Man.
You have earned much honor in the medical tent. Nitratech was found to have dangerously low levels of blood sugar in her body, according to Conley. She told BBC World Service Radio that she has no memory of the finish. I can't remember what happened. I didn't see the finish line. She said, I don't remember all that crawling or whatever, even the collapsing, I don't remember. And that what Yahshua talk about when a woman suffering about to have a baby, when she had that baby, you forget all that. You forget all that stuff. So we supposed to suffer. When we get to that finish line, You mean it's not ain't gonna matter? He said, I got a reward for you. Never be taken away from you. You got look, you got to earn these stripes.
Yes, sir.
On that ride road, you can get all kind of stuff. You can get all kind of checks, cars, clothes, and material things, and status. You can get all kind of stuff. That stuff gonna burn up. Stuff gonna burn up. And you're gonna be talking about at a time in front of the great one, talking about what something once was that's materialistic. She don't remember collapsing. The story might seem inspiring at first glance. Dr. Laura Goldberg, a sports medicine specialist at Cleveland Clinic and medical, people should never attempt what the people. That's what the wire roll. That's what that's the word to take what you cannot do in Yahshua. Goldberg, huh? Told ABC people should never attempt what she did. For the non-elite crowd, there should be never a reason why runners should crawl to the finish. Goldberg told ABC, I get nervous about hearing this story, how it translates to the general population. But Ninja Tech told the media she nevertheless plans to be back in Austin next year. She said, I'm going to do it again.
Right.
Running always, you have to always keep going and going and going. When you walking in Yahshua, you got to keep going and going and going and going and going and going. No fear, I'll do it again.
Yes, sir.
No fear in me.
That's it.
For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Proverbs 28:10. Whoso calleth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself in his own pit. But the upright shall have good things in possession. Romans 8. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Yahshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. For the law of the Spirit of life in Mashiach hath made me free from the law of sin and death. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. I wonder why. Somebody was ruling the earth in flesh. Matter of fact, Adam could have been in that position, dropped the ball. Nimrod apparently could have been in that position. He sure dropped the ball. And for sin, condemned sin in the flesh, that the righteous of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the Ruach. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling. Pressing means pushing and fighting and being a grinder. Hours of studying for nursing school, hours of trying to get your master's, hours of two-a-days in football in the hot heat, grinding and pushing, boot camp, grinding, pushing, working to get your massage license, grinding, pushing, working, fighting, completing, winning for him.
Yes, sir.
The prize of the high calling of Yah in Mashiach. Got to press on this narrow way. Put y'all in your notes. We ain't gonna go over them. Proverbs 2 and 7, and also 2 and 7, and then 2 and 20 in Proverbs. Proverbs 12 and 26. So Proverbs 2 and 7 and 2 and 20. Proverbs 12 and 26. Then 2 Corinthians 5 and 7. We didn't go over those today, but those are all about being on the way, right? Being on this way that we going, all right?
What was that last one in Corinthians?
2 Corinthians 5 and 7. 2 Corinthians 5 and 7. All right, Todah Yah, B'Shem Yahshua. It's our web page, email, all that social media stuff, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Monday and Friday, prayer line, 5:30 and 12 p.m. Wednesday night Bible study at 8:30. 25th of Kislev, or the 25th day of the 9th month, at sundown tomorrow. Okay, the time of rededication, right? The festival of dedication. Sundown is 4:41 tomorrow. Okay, so there's no holy days. Okay, so if you're working, you're still working, and we'll have something over the weekend. We're still trying to get it together, but hopefully past the battle, and the Hard Ministries can come up. And if not, we understand. They got a grandbaby on the way anytime soon. There's a time of rededication. Things going on in the earth. We'll talk more about that next week. It seems like every time we get around the Chanukah time, there's war going on. We talked about that last year, about the war drums are beating, and they show beating like I don't know what right now. While we sitting here talking and praising Yah, all the leaders of the world at the G20 except for Trump is there. And who knows? We don't know what they talk. I know they're talking about some wickedness. They ain't talking about repenting. They ain't talking about taking care of the poor. They ain't talking about not stealing your money. They ain't talking about coming invading the weak and taking their natural. I know they ain't talking about that. That's a fact I know. They're talking about how to be more wicked, more devilish. And that's fine. Let them do what they do. Y'all gonna do what he do. But we gotta be right though. He said in Amos, he said they know not to do right.
Yes, sir.
So we gotta find ourselves doing right.
Come on.
How can he have mercy on the people that don't want to do right?
Come on.
He's never done that.
Come on.